Hi. It's 20 minutes to 10 in the morning here in Adelaide, so good morning. Just have to think about that. I'm going to talk to you today about a camera that I'm learning how to use, and I'll tell you the reason I'm have it in my hands at the moment as we progress. I'm going to talk about the camera and also about photography for the disabled and what sort of cameras are suitable for them, because the reason I have this camera and I'm trying it out is that I'm involved with a group of people who have Parkinson's disease, and they're very keen photographers. And some was April 2015, I went along to meet them for the first time at the urging of a friend of mine who told me I should get to know these guys. I don't have Parkinson's disease, but I've become fairly much part of the Parkinson's community, particularly with the photographers. And so what happens, of course, we go on outings. We have monthly get-togethers. We're only a small group, and quite often a person with Parkinson's disease has to have a carer or a spouse come with them, partner, come with them to help them carry things and just, transport whatever. And so we have some great fun. In fact, this Monday just gone, we had an outing up at Hahndorf in the Adelaide Hills. We went there a couple of years ago, and we went there again this Monday, and we had a lovely time up there, taking some photos and having coffee and learning a bit more about the historic town of Hahndorf. So that was good. I might better show you some photos there, maybe some of the ones that I took while we were there. I don't really show too much of our people in our group because of privacy reasons, but I am going to put up a couple of links to my blog where I've talked about our outings before on my blog, particularly some of them showing us in action in the parks and all that sort of stuff where we've been on our outings. But the reason I have this camera today is the fact that one of our members, he joined us probably 4 or 5 years ago. He lived up in the Adelaide Hills, and he'd become very keen on photography. He had Parkinson's disease, and he'd been quite a successful businessman, but couldn't do that really anymore, I think, at the time. And he turned up at our meeting. I'd never met him before, with his wife, and he was very keen to learn. And I said, well, show me what camera you've got. And this is the one that he pulled out, which is this one here. Some of you might recognize it. It is the Olympus OMD E-M5 2. So there you go. And this has been around about probably since when Len bought it. He bought it brand new, I think. And well, he did buy it brand new. And he came along and he showed it to me, and I said, wow. I said, I've never used a camera like that before. And he was hoping that I'd be able to show him how to use it. So I had a look at it, and I said, we're going to have to spend some more time learning how to use this. And over the years, I've done video calls with him and gone through the manual, and we've had individual get-togethers to try and work out how to use it. And it's got to the point, though, probably, I don't know, a few months back, maybe only a couple of months ago, where Len was still having trouble with this camera and working out how to use it. And quite frankly, I was having trouble trying to work out how to show him how to use it. And I suggested to him, I said, Len, would you like to use one of my digital SLRs for a while and see if that's easier to use? And then we'll have a talk about it later on, what goes on. So he's been doing that for a couple of months. And then I had suggested to him I said, well, depending on whether you like that, we might be able to do a swap or some sort of an exchange or something if you're interested, if I set you up. So anyway, he had I lent him a Pentax KX, which is an earlier digital SLR camera. And it's a good little camera. I've probably reviewed it on this channel, I think. And he's been using that. But no matter what camera you have these days, if you've got Parkinson's disease and some sort of a disability, they're not always all that user-friendly. So I suggested to him the other day, well, maybe we can get together later this week and I'll have a look at another camera I've got, and you might want to try that. But in the meantime, I'm learning how to use this. And it's a micro 4/3 mirrorless camera. and it's quite nice and compact. I mean, when I bring it up there, it makes it look a lot bigger, but it's only quite a small little camera. I suppose if I could compare it to one of my other cameras here, that we got. This is a one that I recently got hold of which is a Nikon D5200. So if we hold those both up there, I don't know whether that is actually showing you this much difference because of the perspective of the lens. But if I bring it back here, so then you get a bit better of an idea of the size compared. So the one in my right hand is the Olympus, and the other one is the Nikon, and they're both very good cameras. And I'm using this Nikon one as my go-to camera at the moment instead of my Canon 700D, although they're both very similar cameras. And so that gives you an idea of the compact size, and they're nice chunky metallic feel to them. There are 3 lenses with this outfit, and with the micro 4/3 configuration, because of the crop factor with these sensors in the cameras, what this lens on here is a 40 to 150 millimeter zoom, and in terms of 35 millimeter terms, that then becomes an 80 to 300 millimeter zoom. I think it does, because it doubles. And I've also got, for instance, over here, this goes with this camera as well, and this is a 75 to 300 mil zoom. So that effectively, from what I can work out, becomes 150 to 600 millimeter zoom lens, and it's a beautiful lens. And there's another smaller, shorter zoom one there as well. And you get this little flash thing that sits on the top of the camera, because there's no built-in flash here. And I'll bring that up a bit closer there. So you get this little flash, and this has got, you can bounce off the ceiling like that. So yeah, you can see that it bounces off the ceiling with that configuration there. I'll push it back down again. But it's pretty much just a fill flash, really. I did notice on here that there is a, where are we? Just up here. There's a sync socket, a flash sync socket. And I looked at the manual online, and the flash sync most of the time is 1/200th of a second, depending on what sort of a flash you're using, or it can be 180th of a second. But it warns to be careful not using older flashes, because you might blow the camera up. Because the first thing I thought about when I saw that, I thought, oh, I can hook up my Metz 45 CT or CL3 or 5 or whatever it is, big hammerhead flash onto that and use it and see how that goes. So I'm inclined to do that, but I'll do a bit of investigation before I try that. In fact, I won't do it while I still don't own this camera. But you can get other Olympus flashes that can sit on the camera and you can use. But that's a little bit of a downside. There's no built-in flash, whereas the Canon and the Pentax that I've lent to Len have got a pop-up flash, which is useful. But one of the problems that we found with this, and Len using it, and also myself, is that it's got this flip-out screen. I'll turn the camera on, and it's got all sorts of information. I don't know whether you can see that. Probably not. There's too much shining light in here. But to cut a long story short, there's so many buttons and controls on here, and it's a touch screen type screen. It's a beautiful little flip out flash, which is good, you know, for getting in all the angles and everything and taking shots above your head like that. And in fact, I can just take a photo there now. See, I just took a photo of me holding that above my head with that black strap going right down the middle. So if I bring that there, see if I can take that shot there like that. Oops, hang on. I've got to get back over there. And then I'll just play it back. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So the problem is it's a very sophisticated camera, and it got lots of bells and whistles, way over and above what a novice, someone just learning photography, can use. And it's also got a touch screen, and you've got all these dials and buttons and things. You can press things, and before you know it, the camera's out of control. You're not controlling it, it's controlling you, or it's doing whatever it wants to do, depending on what you touch by accident. So it's a beautiful, and I've been playing with it the last 2 days, and I found out that intuitively I can work out how to use it. But when I tried to read the instruction manual, that was all Greek to me. Not wanting to disparage Greek people, but I don't speak Greek. So anyway, but it is a beautiful little camera. I'm looking forward to learning how to use it. And I'll show you perhaps a couple of photos in a minute that I took yesterday. I was out, one of my sons has a real estate company, and I deliver his real estate leaflets around the neighbourhood. So I'll show you, might be able to show you a couple of photos I took with this in the backyard. And now there you go, I've got the phone ringing. Just bear with me for a second. See who that is. I might have to stop and answer that. Oh, I'm not sure who that is. Now it's stopped. We get a lot of hoax calls in Australia. If you don't happen to live in Australia, or you probably get them in your country as well. So where was I? Yes, I'll show you some shots that I've taken with it. And I'm hoping to, over the next couple of months, give it a real workout and learn how to use it properly. And the one I'm thinking of giving Len, or I'm going to lend Len, is his name, is the Canon 600D, which has been my go-to camera for the last 5 or 6 years until I bought the Canon 700D. And the Canon 600D is a really nice camera, and it has a flip-out screen, and it's quite user-friendly. But the problem with cameras and people with any sort of a disability is that, are they user-friendly, particularly if you don't really know the basics of photography? With these guys, I've ran classes for them. Some people who've got more knowledge than others, but they just have a love of photography and like taking photos. And it's very difficult when you've got a camera like this, which needs some sort of a knowledge of how to do photography, what all the settings are and how to get the best out of it. It's very difficult when you've got people who are basically just people who have a love of taking photos, and it's very difficult for them to use. And in fact, most of the cameras, I was going to look up and see, and perhaps you can do that, but I'm going to have a look afterwards. I know there are different, in England, there's a big disability group, a camera group in England, which you can't actually join. I don't know whether it's still running or not, but I had a look at that a couple of years ago when I first started getting involved with these guys. And they do all sorts of things for people with all sorts of disabilities. But one of the things that can happen, particularly with Parkinson's disease, is that with all these little and with all these little knobs and things and touch screens, you know, quite often people have got the shakes. And to try and this has got a beautiful stabilization thing built into it, by the way. It's fantastic. I've tried it out, and it does really hold things steady. And that's probably why the guy in the shop sold this to Len, because he probably told him what his needs were. But I think some people, when they sell things, they're just trying to make a quick buck, because this was quite an expensive camera when it came out. I was looking at a review yesterday on YouTube about them from an American guy, and he said they picked them up pretty cheap over on the secondhand market over there in America at the moment, and probably in other places too. But it was not a cheap camera when it came out. It was an expensive camera outfit, and Len got sold the whole deal, you know, the 3 lenses and the camera. And I think, excuse me, hang on, let me have a mouthful. It would be good if camera salesmen really, in fact, probably most of them are pretty good, but some people might not be as experienced as others, really think about the person they're selling the camera to. Because apart from dexterity problems, and people can control that sort of thing to a certain extent with Parkinson's disease with medication, but sometimes they need to use a tripod. But it's very difficult to get things right and do things right. And not only that, some of the side effects of medication and things like that can be, short-term memory can be a problem, and remembering to do things and getting things in sequence, you know, trying to work out what do I do next and to retain knowledge of your photography. So unless you started earlier in life, before you had Parkinson's disease, if you're coming in, and this could be with any sort of a disability that affects your cognitive ability, it can be quite difficult to learn. So in many ways, just a simple iPhone or phone camera is a good way to just point and shoot for people. But a lot of people are keen to learn more and to do more with a camera, something like this one, but this one's pretty complicated. So anyway, that's my little story today. I'll put some links underneath to what I've said before about the Parkinson's group. And I was going to show you some photos, wasn't I? Let's have a go and see if I can do this. Excuse me. Share the screen. Just get that out the road. We'll go down here. And we will go here. We'll go up here. And I'll put this full view into full screen. Okay. So hopefully you can see that. That is when I was out walking yesterday, taking doing my leaflet drop, putting leaflets in letterboxes about buying houses. I was just taking a few the light was good. The color, we've had a lot of rain lately, but the sun was coming out. I've got to go and do some more deliveries in a minute. And that one, I think that one's a bit blurry. So it was blowing, it was pretty windy. And I was still learning how to use the camera. That's just going down one of the streets where I was taking a nice sunshine, just a general scene. And that one there is, I saw some clouds coming in. It's in the back streets. Down the end there is the Adelaide's famous race course, the Morphettville race course there. Some flats there, looking up at the sky, the detail. This is just zooming in with a normal standard zoom that's on the camera, brings you in quite close. And even on there was a magpie up in that tree there somewhere. I can see him, but you won't because I know where he was. And that was just some flowers alongside someone's front garden. And I like that. The detail in that came out really nice. And that's the same little patch of plants there. This is in our backyard with some, what do they call those things? I've forgotten now. And some of these are straight out the camera. That's just all the washing on our backyard. A bit of our backyard, another close up. And that was using a zoom, the more powerful zoom going down the back. I could probably improve on that. And that was looking out over the rooftops from near our place at someone's aerial on using the zoom on that, the longer zoom. And I was using the longer zoom there too, just some hoses in the backyard. And that was going out the front of the house and looking down the street. And I used the long zoom on that to get there's really nice detail and color and everything in that. And that's just getting back to, I took that indoors. That's in this room here where I am, down the other end down there. And that was on a pretty low shutter speed, no flash, just showing some of my books and things down there. So I was quite pleased with that. Anyway, I'm progressing. I'll be doing some more over the next few weeks and I'll share them with you. So I hope you found that interesting. I'm going to probably do a review because I've been using this for a little while now. This is the Nikon D5200, I think it is. That's a beautiful lens camera. I already had about 3 lenses that go with this camera, so I just bought the body at a really good price. And I love this camera. It's got the flip out screen and everything on it. And also I've started to get into, and there'll be some more coming on this, I've started to get serious about selling some of my record collection. So I've got quite a big record collection here. And so these are just some of the ones that I've been putting up. I'm getting proper plastic covers to put on them and all that sort of stuff. That's Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions, Xanadu, Jerry and the Pacemaker's Greatest Hits. So there's a lot of stuff here, but I'll be doing a special video on that later on to show you what that's all about and to share some of my thoughts on that. In fact, I've got someone coming on Saturday to pick up some records that I've advertised, so I'm quite pleased about that. So there you go. Been a bit of a mishmash, bit of a ramble on, but I'll put the links underneath for you to what I've on my blog about, and there's also a couple of things I've done on here about Parkinson's disease as well on my YouTube channel. So thanks for watching, and like if you like, and subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you next time. So I'm going to sign off now and turn this off. Here we go.